just want to thank you for letting me go into your classroom. I really appreciate the opportunity to see other classes and how they run. I observed you doing a review session with your students. I know the class was shortened, so that was tough with the ITBS, and it's a tough week anyway. So, how do you feel your lesson went that day?
Overall, it went pretty well. I think most of the students understood, what they were supposed to get out of it, and a lot of them answered. And I think a lot of them were so overall, I was pretty happy.
Did you observe any student behaviors during your class?
Well, I think most of them were on task and doing pretty well, so overall it's a pretty good class.
Yeah, I noticed when class started, you had to go do the announcements.
Yes.
And so you had a task on the board, and,
yeah.
and when I came in, all the kids were real welcoming to me and said, oh, we're supposed to be doing this, and there were a few kids that weren't doing that, but I suppose that's to be expected.
Yeah. In that class, I could do that with
yeah.
some other ones.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to leave and do the announcements,
yeah.
which they thought it was. Usually the announcements are second hour, but
that's right.
That day they were first hour, so sometimes I read them, and I think they were thinking it was still second office, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
I noticed you had an activity for them to do.
Yeah,
and
we
then
have an opener. Many days we put an overhead on, and we're supposed to do that, and we discuss it afterwards. So.
And then do you always have the agenda on the board there? I noticed you had the agenda on the board.
Most days.
Most days, on the good days.
Yeah,
right?
and then I usually also try to have any assignments for that unit on there, so that if they were gone a day, or if I don't get everything on the head, that I maybe showed sometimes. I don't remember seeing that. So.
Okay, great. Tell me about the lesson. How many different resources did you guys use for that packet?
Well,
it seemed like you were incorporating
a lot of the things out of the one sheet were from a small paperback book called Times of Change, but a lot of it was the culmination of things that we had done out of the textbook in Vietnam, and we actually had some Vietnam vets come in and talk, and watched a couple video clips of some things that went on in Vietnam too. So it was kind of all of those things together, but I would say, that lesson itself, a lot of it was kind of from that supplemental book that we had. But yet they were drawing on information, hopefully from those other lessons too.
Yeah. It was interesting when they were talking about the word hippie and
yeah.
Woodstock and that.
Yeah.
Of course, the guys thought it would be fun, but the girls thought it would be too dirty and things. That was good. What are some things you could have done during the review to increase student engagement?
Maybe call on more students, and I know can't remember as much that day, but I know sometimes I don't have patience to wait.
The wait time,
when I
sure.
ask a question, it's okay, I'll just help you or get you started,
right.
Which that class is usually pretty good at, there's usually somebody that'll speak up, but sometimes there's two or three that kind of dominate, but I tried to, call on more students.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure they were all tired from the testing too. That
yeah.
probably makes a big difference. I know my students were worn out. So, so anything in the beginning or middle or end specifically that you could have done to enhance the review of this material?
Well, maybe just not have done announcements that day and get the class going, because sometimes once you have a little, blip in the beginning, it's hard to keep them on track. But I think overall they did pretty well, and they were, most of them had completed the task and were fairly focused.
Is that generally how you deliver a review? As you read through it, and then you call in kids and
we usually, like a lot of my units, they'll have a study guide that goes over the important things, and they'll have time to do it, and then the day before the test we usually discuss it just to see if there's any things they didn't get or misconceptions they had, and then it also gives me a chance to maybe elaborate on some things that the textbook maybe didn't have enough on, and I often have a lot of upfront articles that expand, like we had one on the My Lai and Kent State and some of those important things that are more than the paragraph that they get in the textbook. So,
are the students ever in charge of the review procedure, like a Jeopardy game?
I haven't done that, but that would probably be a good idea.
Yeah,
so.
having them come up with their own trivia question
Yeah.
for a section that they're responsible for or something like that. Fun. Let's see. What things will you do the same in future lessons when you're reviewing?
Well, I think concentrate on calling on other students, because otherwise in that class there's sometimes 3 or 4 that will answer 90% of the questions, and just trying to make sure everybody's involved, and that way they know they're accountable for the information, because otherwise, you know, they might just come in and kind of sit in the back and maybe not have it done ahead of time, because I can just kind of fill it out as we go.
Right,
otherwise, so.
right. And do you allow kids to change their answers during
Yeah,
that time?
I do, because basically it's, the important part is that they have the correct information,
Sure.
so then on the test that, you know, they're able to.
Were they
Yeah.
tested the next day, or was it the next couple days? Or?
Actually, the main test for that was actually before some of it. You know, it was kind of a, I guess, a culminating activity, I guess, for the 60s and the Vietnam, like I said. There is a short quiz that they're doing tomorrow that has a couple things from that on.
I know you said you don't remember everything from that day, and of course I don't either, but I did write everything down. So, do you know or remember something that you did either in the packet or reading that you thought really fostered high involvement? Because there was one thing that really stood out to me that I thought the kids really enjoyed.
Well, it's not coming to me off the top of my head.
Well,
so.
it was the headlines. That,
oh, okay.
Yeah, I
yes.
really felt like, boom, all of a sudden kids' hands were popping up.
Yeah.
They wanted to share those. They got to, you know, say, well, this
Yeah.
is what I would do if it was this or that. I thought that was really interesting.
And thanks for pointing that out, because that was something I haven't done before.
Oh,
that was
yeah.
something new that I found,
Right.
and I was kind of excited about that too.
Yeah.
And, yeah, because, you know, and we talk about that sometimes in class, about, you know, if you want to watch, you know, MSNBC and then watch Fox News on the same story, just how different
Yeah,
it is, and then
sure.
they got to do a little bit of that themselves. So
Yeah, that was one. I had recorded, you know, the questions you asked and how many responses, and
Yeah.
you had 5, which was definitely
Yeah.
the most. You know, people wanting to share where you didn't even have to call on
Yeah.
anyone for that little segment. So, I think they really enjoyed that. And then the other piece was talking about maybe a story you read where the boy couldn't decide, so he went ahead and went.
That was part of that book also. It was about a 7 or 8 page story that they read, and he was deciding whether to go to Canada or report for and go to Vietnam, basically. So.
Right. Yeah. There seemed to be a lot of responses to that question or that piece as well. So
yeah, I think
those 2
I think
pieces.
they enjoyed that. And
Yeah.
It was something that I thought they would enjoy too, and it was kind of had some good questions and things for them to contemplate.
Absolutely.
And that's, you know, I try to do things and put them in the situation. Okay, what would you do? And anytime we watch any short video clips or something, a lot of times that's, you know, how would you feel if you know, your friend got shot, or, you know, things like that. So,
Right. Yeah. It was
otherwise,
very
it's,
interesting.
sometimes they think, oh, that's not really real. But when they start thinking on a personal level that, yeah, that could have been me, that could have been my friend.
Well, and then you expanded, I think, by asking, do you think that they should be able to do other things or volunteer for other things, which hit home for me because my dad did. He volunteered to do something else.
Okay.
So,
What,
yeah.
do you work like in the hospital or something?
Actually,
I know
he
that
went
was.
to take care of retired NASA monkeys.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So that,
That'd be-
and that's his careers, and,
Okay, cool.
and very similar to that. So, I just wanted to say again, I appreciate you letting me come into your classroom. It was interesting. It's an advanced class. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. If I could teach that class every day, I would probably stay for a long time. A very good group of kids. Even the next block that I have is an advanced class, but it's pretty good, but this one is one of the better classes I've had.
Yeah. Do they have to take several of your? What makes it an advanced? Or do they
Actually, it's
prerequisite,
no, it's just freedom of choice if they want to have a little more challenge and stuff. So sometimes there's students in my general class that maybe should be in that one, and then sometimes maybe there's some kids in there that maybe shouldn't have been in there, but it's, you know, overall they get to decide. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, I appreciate it, Scott. And
Yep. All right. Thanks for coming.
until next time, I guess.
It's always good to get feedback.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yep.